Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this, what was a beautiful Sunday here in the East with temperatures in the 50s and 60s and a good deal of sunshine. Could not have asked for a better two-day combination of the last two. And meanwhile, of course, we've got the opposite in the West with that major storm that came in on Friday in southwestern California. And now we have another one that's getting ready to pound areas further north. But I want to show you the state of the atmosphere over the next couple of weeks because it is in an extreme position in the West with regards to the Pacific North America index. And that index measures, basically, we're measuring changes in pressure in the upper layers of the atmosphere. When this index is positive, there is a big ridge of high pressure aloft out in the West, which tends to favor storminess in the East and quiet times in the West. Well, when it's negative, it's exactly the opposite. And this is not just negative because normally these indexes are between minus 200 and plus 200. This one is going all the way down to minus 400. This is an extreme reading. And with the PNA crashing like this, this would certainly be an indicator of continued storminess in the West and probably quite a bit of it. And then once we hit bottom around the end of the month, the PNA starts to rise back toward neutral, at least according to this, by March 5th, but it's still negative. And in the meantime, the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation, which measures changes in pressure in the North Atlantic, when pressures are high there, you get blocking, and that's when the index is negative. Well, the index is positive. It's not crazy positive, but it's positive pretty much right through the period. And these are based on today's model, so these indexes change for their look from day to day. They're not a constant, they're just a snapshot based on what the models are showing. And the Eastern Pacific Oscillation, which is basically the opposite of the North Atlantic, it looks at it in the Eastern Pacific, but the same idea, goes strongly negative around the middle of the month. And this would usually be an indicator of colder weather coming back into the Midwest and northeastern part of the United States. I don't know if it's going to make it necessarily to the east. It certainly will trend temperatures back down closer to average, but it's still going to be milder than average. And I'm going to be very curious to see how this all plays out. Again, we had this index as this negative on the PNA back in December. When storminess was beginning to pound the western part of the United States. So let's look at what the models are doing. And as far as the GFS is concerned from earlier today, you've got a big ridge building in the west. You've got big ridge building in the east and troughing generally in the west. This has really been the signature for most of the winter with just some minor interruptions, really. And as we go through the next 2 weeks, it not only continues, but it actually gets extremely active here in the West. Look at this by next weekend. There's just system after system crashing down in the flow, moving from the Pacific Northwest southward into California and into Southern California. These are the upper air systems, and you see them swinging around. And it's just one after another, after another, after another. It's amazing. But this takes us right through the first 7 days of March, and by the time we get to the end of that period, we still have a big ridge in the east and general troughing in the west. There is no change in that overall view, and I've been of the opinion that at some point in the next few weeks that there might be an opportunity for one or two more chances for snow in the eastern part in the northeast, basically in the same areas that have gotten it. I'm really beginning to wonder whether that's just a pipe dream in my view because of the way things are shaping up. So let's show you on the surface how this plays. First off, in the east, we're going to cool it off a little bit tomorrow and to Tuesday because of this high that's building down from New England. Then we have a weak weather front that moves through Tuesday night with a couple of passing showers, and the air behind it is actually warmer than the air ahead of it. So we're going to wait now at this point as low pressure comes out of the southern plains in Oklahoma. So they bring some snow to Colorado and Wyoming, northwestern Nebraska, southern South Dakota. That low runs to the lower Great Lakes, moves up to the northeast. We get some rain out of that, and it probably will, with the warm front going by and the cold front ahead of it, who knows what will wind up with that in terms of showers, maybe even a couple of thunderstorms running around in a couple of places. Then it gets a little colder behind it, and then yet another low from this western parade comes out and heads up from New Mexico. And this one, watch this one, is another one that's going to drop down into Southern California with rain and snow. And this is actually going to have some colder air, so I would expect the snow levels with this system to drop. It swings out into New Mexico. You have a low that goes up toward Wisconsin, bringing some snows to the western lakes, and some rain, some showers, and warmer weather into the east before that goes by, and then who knows after that. But the west is really, let me get a little closer on the western part of the United States here. This is, oops, that's the east. So used to going to the east. I've been spending so much time now going to the west. So let's go to the western U.S. And, here we have, let's back it up. And you can watch these systems. This is the one that's coming in right now. And you can see there's heavy rains forecast overnight into tomorrow morning. Not quite into most of the southwestern, all the way down into San Diego. But the southern edge of the rain seems to get to about L.A. But the real concentration is central and northern California and up into the Pacific Northwest. And then another low comes in on Tuesday, and that runs northeast. Then a little bit of a break, but still a lot of leftover precip. And then here's another system that's getting ready to drop. This one's not too strong, but then it strengthens a little bit as it drops southeastward through California. I think from this one, the snow levels are likely to drop. And then yet another one tries to come down with some snow and rain. Again, snow levels I would expect to see dropping from that one as the deep trough in the west will bring cold air pretty far south. And in fact, you can see how far south the snow is into New Mexico, northern half of Arizona, all of Nevada. A deep trough like this is going to do that. And then, no sign, just one after another after another. It's an endless parade of weather systems going into the west. And in the east, again, we'll give you a closer look here. Of course, as we go through time, the accuracy of the models in terms of what they're doing on the surface will be a little bit suspect, but I don't see anything here that remotely resembles snow for the east. And you know what, by that time, if we're going to take this out and we're already into the first week of March, we're going to get to the point now where for at least areas from southern New England down to the northern mid-Atlantic states, that you're going to have an almost perfect setup for snow. And there you go. It's just not there. It's just not there in the indices. It's just not there in the upper air pattern. By the way, I just want to throw out a statistic at you because I did a little research. I don't know if I mentioned this the other day, but I was looking at specifically for Long Island because that's where I am. And the reality is, I didn't look at the temperatures so much during the winter months, but what was very interesting is that the average snowfall for Long Island, measured in central Long Island, by the way, it's hard to take 120 miles that go east-west and kind of condense it into one spot as it would to take one that goes north-south. But the bottom line is that from roughly 1970 to 1985, the average March snowfall was 3.9 inches. From 1986 to 2000, the average snowfall was 4.3 inches. From 2001 through 2016, the average snowfall in the month of March is 7.3 inches. So over the course of the last almost 50 years, there's been almost a doubling of the amount of snow that has fallen during the month of March, at least as measured in the last 15 years. And I can tell you this, the numbers are going to be similar, I think, if we looked at January and February, although the percentage increase is probably smaller. But in reality, snowfalls have been increasing in the area from southern New England and through a good chunk of the southern areas of the Northeast and the northern mid-Atlantic states on the whole over the last 15 years versus the prior 30. So That flies in the face of what some people have said to me, making making observations based on their own experience of right now. And the human mind is a wonderful thing. When it wants to forget things, it forgets it. And you have to go back and look at the stats. And in realities, the winters have actually been getting snowier here in the east. It's not a smooth rise. There are up and down years. For much of the area here south of New York City, it's definitely a down here. From New York City and Long Island north, it's definitely no worse than an average to an up year. Such is the game that we play. So give you one last look. We'll leave it with the latest satellite loop, which shows moisture pouring into central and northern California and also into Oregon and Washington as this next complex storm system moves in. It's nothing like the one that went in on Friday. What's left of that is now moving northeast, where this is the moisture that's left of it that's moving across western Texas, eastern New Mexico, and on up into the Dakotas and into southern Canada. Thank you for being here on my YouTube channel. If you're new to my YouTube channel, welcome. Join in the conversation. And by all means, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. And we love having you. You'll get a notification every time a new video goes up, which is usually at once a day. During storm situations, I might do two or three a day, but most of the time it's one a day. And you can check out all the latest website posts on meteorologistjoechaffee.com. And for Long Island, it's weatherlongisland.com. And for New York City, it's nycweathernow.com. So everybody have a great day.